Hey everybody, welcome back to another movie review. Hope you guys been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. Uh, it is late here, and that's why I'm going to be having the mic very, very close to my mouth because I hope you guys can hear me because it's going on midnight, so I really want to keep my voice quiet. As we do our film of the week, this one being Léon, or Léon the Professional, or The Professional, um, depending on how you hear about it, or just if you've watched the film. It's literally called The Professional, and not Léon. So it has some varying titles, but notably it's recognized as Léon. Written and directed by Luc Besson, who would go on to do The Fifth Element, as well as Valerian, which is the other piece of his that I've seen, which was quite the snooze from what I can remember. Tells a story of a hitman who, forgive me, I forgot who plays the hitman, but he is quite the cleaner, as they portray the name they give the hitmen cleaners. He's very resourceful, very practical, and he takes on the responsibility of a young girl played by Natalie Portman, as her family is killed by police officers because of her family being involved in the drug world, in the underbelly, and the one of the main officers, played by Gary Oldman, who is quite crazed, is on the search for Natalie Portman so that he can himself also have a clean record of events taking place and basically having no loose ends. So Léon is teaches Natalie Portman's character, the ropes of protecting herself, and ultimately, what the film leads to is this idea of the need for bondage to really sustain one's humanity, because Léon is kind of in a fantastical-like scenario or fantastical-like personality where he's watching movies, and he's very particular in his routines, and he's thus very self-contained, whereas Natalie Portman's character is young and more willing and more optimistic of sorts, and through Natalie Portman's character, where does Léon start to blossom a little bit and actually stretch out a little bit more and not be so tight in certain respects. And you can view it as a father and daughter dynamic. There's been questions in regards to how the filmmaking portrays the relationship. There is an argument to be made that he might be a pedophile, but I don't think that that's necessarily how the film portrays this relationship. I did think about that at some points. There are questionable motives, absolutely, and questionable lenses as a result. But I think that it's mostly friendly, and more so in the context of guardians, like someone who's just there to protect someone, a watchful protector, in the quoting Guardian, The Dark Knight. And speaking of The Dark Knights, and talking about one of those performers, Gary Oldman, you get performances here of that, particularly Gary Oldman, that if it was done anywhere else, it would have been completely out of place. But because of the off-putted nature of it the film has, because it has a craftsmanship that makes its vital components, that being its performances and its dialogue, to be quite obvious in presentation. And with that, you get something that's very disorienting, that is uniquely suited, but it also produces, again, a obvious nature to the film, which I believe was intended. And I think that you get performances that are oddly exaggerative, but strangely appropriate considering the context of what we're in. particularly that Gary Oldman. You know, again, if you had that performance anywhere else in any other film, it would have been just weird. But because of the context of Leon and the overall atmosphere that's being presented, it works really, really well. And the same thing could be said for Natalie Portman's performance, where she's, she's really, the heart of the film, and many scenes of her that I think where she's just, really, really spirited and just really capturing a youthful nature that is, that's not really present in a lot of child performances, because a lot of child performances are just terrible. It's a stereotype, but it's also just real, unfortunately. But in this case, for Natalie Portman, I thought she did a really, really good job. Now, the thing that I was alluding to with with its atmosphere, the obvious nature of it, I do think does create distance, and does create questionable lenses, or questionable just optics, because the way that its dialogue plays, it thinks that obviousness is clever and creative, and I think that, and also within that, creating a certain kind of humor, because it's also in many respects a comedy. At least I believe Leon is trying to be a comedy, like a divine comedy in some respects, because there's strange and, quite frankly, unwarranted sides of humor that the film presents, and and the dialogue also kind of plays this up because of just how frank and how blunt and how straightforward it's written, and I think that idea, and that that sense of direction, I think, just makes things more cheap in presentation, and thus less interesting. Because aesthetically, I don't find it to be that interesting, and the while the performances are interesting enough, and also the score is quite frankly a standout element. It has echoes of that of like James Newton Howard, like almost like inspiration of sorts. And the film almost entirely has feels very inspired by anime type of sensibilities, visually, that is, in terms of like how the shots are placed, and in terms of just how the overall tone of it just kind of echoes that of an anime, and it feels like it was built to be to be in that type of vein, but then they decided to go for live action instead. So, but I don't think that type of approach worked completely for me. It made things, again, just very disorienting and just very odd. And it doesn't, and at points it feels warranted, but at a lot of other points it just feels strange. And that's really the word for Leon. It's a strange film, because on one hand you have performances that are incredibly exaggerative, but at the same breath they work well, considering the setup, the way that everything's being set up. You get a score that's really, 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 really great. You get an atmosphere, which again is a mixture of things, is rather interesting. But what you get on the other side of that is that you have dialogue that is again playing with a certain mindset that I feel is unsuited, and aesthetics and overall sensibilities that just feel, like divisive. Like it feels like a battle is being taken place for what type of tone and what type of look Leon wants, and it just wants to have its cake and eat it too, almost. And and with it, like I said, you get a film that has its good points, but also has its bad points as well. So I kind of sit in a place where I find myself interested in Leon, but I'm not going to say that I found it to be as as solid as many other people have made it out to be. I think that the obvious nature that it holds, I think, is very problematic, and I think that it creates a craftsmanship that that blends a lot of elements. Like I said, this humor, which I feel is just unwarranted, and this exaggerated like quality that is ultimately clashing and not really blending. So I think that that's really where I sit with Léon. It's a film that has a lot of um, feelings going on. Like I said, there's this lightheartedness, and then there's these serious these more darker moments that it possesses, and within that different tones and aesthetics. And ultimately, I just found myself just, like I said, just kind of like this. So, like I said, more clashing and less blending, in my opinion. So, but yeah, those are my thoughts on Léon. I thought it was interesting, strange, we'll say. I think that's probably the best word for it. But you guys want to know your thoughts on Léon. If you guys enjoyed it, let me know in the comment section below. And that's going to be it for me, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let me know if I should check out Luc Besson's other work, that being The Fifth Element. Let me know if I should check it out or not. But yeah, that's it for my review on Léon. Thank you guys for joining me. And until then, I will catch you guys in the next video.